An old man, tired of his life, is drawn to his new microwave to prepare macabre culinary recipes with the people who enter his house. Today we're going to recap the story of the movie, Monster Microwave, from 1979. Inside a mysterious microwave, you can see nothing but pure darkness. However, when you get closer and closer to its interior, you can find a human head. The head no longer has eyes, only the hair and dental arch of a woman who, in a macabre way, has already left this world. This tragic fate, fortunately, was not that of the beautiful young woman who was walking near a construction site. The operators take a moment to rest and have a snack before returning to work. Just then, a beautiful young woman walks past the site and sees a hole in the wall. Curious, she decides to look through the opening and doesn't realize that a man is watching her and trying to take advantage of the moment. When the guy does this, she gets scared, gets stuck in the small opening and tries to get free. The workers soon notice the strange situation and, seeing the young woman's beauty, decide to go over to take a closer look. However, just as they were about to reach her, the young woman manages to break free and leaves. The only one who didn't go to see what was going on was Donald, a middle-aged factory worker, who was unhappy to see the snack his wife had prepared. Meanwhile, the guy's wife, called May, is at home and shows her dog the latest family-sized microwave she's bought. Meanwhile, Donald thinks about throwing away the snack she's made, which is nothing less than a huge crab sandwich. Instead, he tries to exchange his snack for that of his colleagues, Ruse and Philip, but they refuse and make fun of the old man. Later, in a nightclub, two friends who have already changed talk about random subjects, which makes the owner of the place, called Sam, very uncomfortable. By coincidence, Donald and his friends arrive at the club shortly afterwards to have a few drinks and pass the time. Even so, Donald can't enjoy the moment and says he's discouraged by his life with his wife. He begins to confide in Sam, saying that his wife has been making worse and worse meals in the kitchen and that he can't take it anymore. However, the bar owner says he doesn't have the patience to talk about it and leaves Donald alone. With no one to talk to, the old man returns home in his dirty car, only to be even more annoyed when he sees a young couple enjoying their romantic moment next door. He shrugs this off and goes into the house, but everything gets worse when he meets his wife, who doesn't show much enthusiasm when she sees him. She treats him rudely, prevents him from sitting on the sofa because he's dirty from work and is about to finish another horrible meal. This whole situation leads Donald to fantasize that he is holding a samurai sword and about to attack his wife with the blade. However, his fantasy soon disappears and he sits down to dinner. Suddenly, May turns off the light and tries to have a candle at dinner, but when she almost sets the table on fire, she soon gives up the idea. Donald doesn't hide his dissatisfaction at not having a communal meal like other couples, but May considers it very ungrateful of him. Even so, Donald doesn't care and just thinks about how he'd like a better meal than his dinner. He even envies his dog's food and so, the next morning, decides to use it as a filling in his sandwich instead of crab. While he eats his snack and shares it with a stray dog, the beautiful young woman from the day before returns to the building site. When she gets there, she is approached by Philip, who wastes no time in trying to win her over with his chat, but the young woman is more interested in the muscular worker who works nearby. She then goes to talk to the guy, but he doesn't like it when she tries to touch him and tells her to go away. Hurt, the young woman decides to go back to Philip, who manages to kiss her and, without wasting any time, the guy starts taking advantage of Donald, who continues to eat his snack. At the end of the working day, the old worker goes back to the nightclub and ends up having more drinks than he should. He ends up falling asleep on the bar and is woken up by the bar owner, who tells him to leave. Despite being drunk, Donald manages to get home by car, where his wife is waiting for him, furious. However, the old man has had enough of his wife and her lack of talent in the kitchen and, as well as destroying the dinner she has made, Donald starts making a mess of the house. He throws sand on the furniture, knocks over the decorations and even does his business in the middle of the fireplace. Annoyed by her husband's attitude, May says she will no longer accept his complaints and even throws the dinner plate at Donald's head. This is the last straw for the old man who, under the influence of alcohol, can't control his rage and starts attacking his wife. May tries to resist, so Donald takes a pot of salt and uses it to hit her on the head, ending her life. The next day, the old man goes off to another day's work as if nothing had happened. However, on his way out, he remembers his snack and asks May if she has prepared anything for him to take with him. When he enters the kitchen, he doesn't find his wife, but decides to check inside the microwave to see if she has left any food ready. However, when he opens it, what he finds inside is the body of his wife, who was eliminated by himself in his moment of rage and drunkenness. At first, Donald doesn't remember doing it and is shocked, but soon changes his mind when he realizes that he has finally got rid of May. Not only that, He decides to test the microwave and activates the command to grill her body slowly. Later, when he arrives at work, Donald is more animated than usual. Ruse and Philip are surprised by his colleague's behavior, but he says he's happy because he's finally divorced from May, so to speak. Little do his colleagues know that the man has eliminated his own wife and, after work, he returns home and begins to separate her body parts. He then covers the parts with aluminum foil and keeps them in a refrigerator hidden in the basement. However, the fridge is already full of food, also covered in aluminum foil, so Donald empties it all to put May inside. Finally, he puts all the food in a barrel, but as he leaves the basement, he doesn't realize that one of his wife's parts has also fallen in with the food. After that, the old man goes to the living room, now free to watch whatever he wants and eat whatever he wants. In the middle of the night, he watches a program about real crimes and a criminologist talks about a case in which no evidence was found because the victim's body was devoured by the criminal. A few minutes later, Donald goes to sleep, but he hears the howls of May's dog, who is looking for his owner. The old man tells him to go away and, as he's already awake, decides to have a late-night snack. He goes down to the basement and takes one of the foods wrapped in aluminum foil from the barrel. Donald tries a piece and is surprised by the taste, but when he removes the foil, he is startled to see that he has eaten part of his late wife's hand. Despite his fright, the old man ends up liking the taste and starts devouring May's hand like a complete madman. He likes it so much that, the next morning, he takes another piece of it to work for a snack, this time baked in the microwave. Ruse and Philip are curious about the food and decide to try it, without suspecting that they are eating human parts. Like Donald, they love the different taste of this snack, although they think the meat looks old and dried out. Donald promises that he will perfect the taste and starts experimenting, using parts of May's meat in various recipes. When the evening comes, the old biddy returns to the bar for a drink, feeling in an even better mood and even compliments the owner on his service. While enjoying his beer, he notices that he is being stared at by a beautiful young woman sitting on the other side of the bar. Donald is surprised to see that the woman is trying to get his attention, but Sam quickly puts a stop to it and tells the young woman not to mess with his loyal customer. The woman pays no attention to what he says, so the bar owner takes her drink and shows her the way out. With no choice, the woman leaves, but continues to attract Donald's attention, who decides to leave his drink and go after her. Outside the bar, he apologizes for Sam's attitude, because he didn't have to kick the young woman out. He also thanks her for being nicer to him than most people usually are. The young woman thanks him and asks him out, but Donald wasn't expecting it and is nervous about such a sudden invitation. Nevertheless, he accepts and calls her over to his house, with the young woman introducing herself as 3D. When they arrive at the house, the young woman is waiting to have a romantic moment, but the old man is still nervous and tries to disguise it by tidying up the room. Frustrated, 3D prepares to leave, but Donald is soon overcome with determination. Then, in the middle of the romantic moment, Donald begins to feel the same rage that made him eliminate his own wife. Because of this, he picks up one of the pillows and pushes it against 3D's face, who tries to resist, but starts to lose her breath and becomes another victim of the old man. After committing this terrible act, Donald goes back to acting as if nothing had happened and takes the opportunity to relax. Soon afterwards, he takes 3D's body into the kitchen and places it on a huge wooden board, similar to the ones he uses to cut meat. Finally, the old man picks up an axe from the counter, tests the edge of the blade to see if it's sharp enough and then begins to cut into 3D's body. Another day passes and Donald's mood only improves with time. He even takes Philip and Ruse for a drive after work and the three of them prank the waitress at a diner. After this night of fun, the old man returns home and, snooping in his neighbor's window, sees the shadows of the young couple, accompanied by a third partner. However, he puts his curiosity aside and goes down to the basement, where he needs to find more space in the refrigerator. He moves May's parts, including her head, and puts 3D's body parts in place. The next morning, a homeless man starts rummaging through the garbage in the neighborhood and goes to check Donald's trash can. Amidst the garbage, he finds a human hand, but instead of being frightened by it, the man believes it's just a toy and uses the hand to scratch his back. Unsuspecting that someone has gone through his garbage, Donald goes to a construction store and looks for materials for his sinister experiments. He asks the store owner for a giant roll of aluminum foil and 10-liter jugs to collect blood. Faced with such a bizarre request, the store owner tells him to leave and threatens to call the police. Donald obeys and, even without having obtained the materials, he continues with his plans and continues to lure more beautiful young women to his house for his frightening recipes. Another day passes and Donald continues to look for victims. While strolling down the street, he sees a group of artists giving a performance, including a beautiful young woman who is dressed as a chicken and dancing to the rhythm of the music. When the performance is over, Donald goes to talk to the young woman, who says she's dressed as a chicken just to pay for college. The old man tries to win her over, saying that he can help her get a better job and even invites her to dinner at his house. However, the girl is offended by this sudden invitation and tells the old man to leave. Even so, Donald insists that he just wants to help her with her college studies and, after the two of them have had a chat, the old man convinces her to accompany him home. When they get there, the young woman can't resist Donald's charm and the two have a romantic moment. However, just as happened with May, 3D and the other victims, she is also eliminated by the old man, who uses his axe to cut off her parts and turn it into snacks. Donald realizes that he never felt so alive until he started these criminal acts and making his human snacks. Even so, he decides to go to a psychologist so that he can let off steam and find some peace of mind about what he's been doing over the last few days. However, the psychologist doesn't give a damn what he says and even falls asleep during the session. Donald realizes this and wakes him up, but the psychologist just tells him that he should do what he likes in order to feel better about himself. Unaware of what his patient is really doing, the psychologist then releases him and Donald finds himself even freer and guilt-free to go ahead with his plans. He becomes even more interested in his human snacks and uses his microwave to grill more pieces of his victims. But before he can taste his new recipe, the old man has a heart attack and panics. Luckily for him, the attack soon stops and he's back to normal, but he realizes that he needs to be more careful with his current diet. He then goes down to the basement and starts organizing everything so that he can prepare the meat more carefully. But while he's tidying up the fridge, May's head falls on the floor and when Donald goes to pick it up, it suddenly disappears. Confused, the old man looks for the head and finds it on the counter, only for the head to disappear again and end up on the kitchen floor. Donald goes over and picks it up, but soon he hears someone calling from the other side of the door. With May's head hidden behind his back, the old man opens the door and finds his sister-in-law. The woman says she's been trying to reach her sister for days and demands to know where she is. The old man says he'll call her and leaves his sister-in-law in the living room, while he hides May's head somewhere else. Minutes later, he calls her to find May in her room and she sees her sister's face glimpsed on the bed, as if she were lying down with the sheet covering her body. However, when she takes a closer look, she realizes that the only thing on the bed is May's head, which was removed weeks ago. Faced with this macabre scene, the woman despairs and Donald takes advantage of this moment to attack his sister-in-law, shoving a piece of bread into her mouth. The woman falls unconscious and Donald considers giving her the same tragic fate as his victims. However, because he doesn't think she'll taste that good, he changes his mind and leaves her tied up inside the closet. The next day, Donald goes to the doctor to analyze what might have caused the heart attack he suffered at home. The old man says that years ago he had a pacemaker inserted and that this was the first time he had felt unwell since then. The doctor, who doesn't seem to be very trustworthy, tells him not to worry because the tests show that Donald is fine. He then authorizes his patient to return home and the old man, now more relieved, decides to follow the advice and returns to his routine. On another day at work, Donald enjoys his snack, until Ruse talks about a newspaper article about 7 missing women. He says that the police have found no trace of the crimes and that one of the victims lived in the same area as Donald. The old man, however, just shrugs it off and hands Philip his latest snack. The guy doesn't suspect what it is and as he eats, he says that Donald is getting better and better at his recipes. After the service, the old man meets another beautiful young woman on the street and it's not long before he lures her to his house. When they arrive, Donald leaves her in the living room and goes to change, but when he returns, he appears dressed in an apron and holding a knife in one hand and a fork in the other. The young woman soon becomes another victim and the old man takes her down to the basement to sort out the pieces. Even with all the blood and the difficulty with the bones, Donald is increasingly satisfied with his actions and lets out an evil laugh. The next day, another workday comes to an end and Ruse and Philip propose doing something different that evening. They suggest going to the new bar to meet beautiful young women and Donald approves of the idea, as he'll have more options for his recipes. They arrange to meet up later, only for the old man to get busy with another victim and miss his friends. Hours later, Ruse and Philip go to Donald's house to find out what happened, but when they enter, they find him lying in the middle of the kitchen. When they take a closer look, they see that the old man is lifeless, the victim of a cardiac arrest. The two then realize that the microwave next to him is on and when they look inside, they see several human hands and feet being prepared. Philip begins to feel very ill, as he soon deduces that, all this time, he has been feeding on human parts in the snacks made by Donald. Ruse then goes to take a closer look and sees a sign inside the microwave. warning that people using pacemakers should keep their distance. Ironically, it seems that Donald was the last victim of his own microwave. Days pass and, despite the crimes that have taken place there, the old man's house is put up for sale. One day, 3 guys arrive at the house to clear out the furniture, and one of them ends up finding May's sister, still alive and trapped inside the closet. While he helps her out, the others go to check the microwave and realize that some of the cables inside it have been switched. They suspect that someone has tampered with the microwave's wiring and that Donald's pacemaker has been damaged. Then, from inside the refrigerator in the basement, May's head appears and her eyes begin to emit a strange orange light. Everything indicates that the old woman's spirit somehow controlled Donald's actions, so that he could lure young girls to his house and then prepare them in the microwave. Finally, she herself eliminated Donald, thus bringing the tragic event of the Devil's Microwave to an end. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.